can stay standing at the back if you want to get a drink. Thursday time of the day. For those guys that don't know me, I'm Nick Singh from JK Mine. Trevor asked me not that long ago if I could present here today on a particular topic that I was passionate about. And I thought, what could I possibly talk about? Passionate about. And there's one thing I'm definitely passionate about, and that's being keeping employed. And I'm sure you guys in the room, most of you are in the same position. I know most of you here. I don't think Trevor's here, is he?
No, he's working interstate, he couldn't make it.
I was going to thank him for the opportunity to speak. So anyway, the initial, I came up with this topic about 8 or 9 days ago. I thought, I want to talk about this because I talk to people about it all the time. The initial topic for the discussion was offshoring and the future for the performance testing market, job market. Now offshoring, as we know, well I know, is not a new concept. It's been around for about 15 years. I've been around in the industry for about 33. So it's not new. Now I'm not going to talk about future opportunities because I think the opportunities are already there. So I've changed the title a little bit. Now before I go into this, I'm not going to talk for very long, about 20-25 minutes. But please interact with me, stop me when you want, ask questions. And we'll see how we go. So I think I'm only about 20-25 minutes. Now before I start, I want to relay a story that one of my colleagues told me about 6 weeks ago. And he had engaged a Filipino in Sydney for a performance testing engagement. And this young fellow, we'll call him Felix, because Felix is apparently a common Filipino name, had a master in computer science. He was exceptionally smart, spoke fluent English, and helped deliver this job in 2 to 3 months. And my colleague said to me, he asked me, he said, Nick, do you know how much I paid him? I said, how much did they pay him? And this was the scary part, $1,500 a month. Right? So when we think about that, we think, how can we as resources, expert resources, compete with that sort of rate? We can't even survive in Australia on that rate. Now, I think that's even less than $1. The answer to that question is simple: we can't compete with it. We cannot compete with it, so what we have to do is collaborate. Collaborate with them or work with them. And there's plenty of opportunities out there to do that. Because offshoring is not going to go away very soon. It's here to stay for some time. And these markets, I'm going to just go touch on a few opportunities that I've seen and know exist out there because we get asked about help and get requests for help all the time in these particular areas I'm just going to touch on. Now, I haven't followed the fundamentals for the presentations. I've got a lot of bullet points on my circle. It's not just 4 or 5. There's a crap load, right? So just bear with me because it's been put together very quickly. Try and get 2 threads going. 1 thread looking at the screen, 1 thread listening to me, and hopefully we'll merge the output and you'll get the payload. Now, I want to go through a little bit of history. I don't want to dwell on this for too long, but I think it's very important we know why we're in the market we are today. It's evolved, and I don't think it's a good thing to dwell on the past, but I think it's very important to learn from the past and know why we're here in the market we are today. So the points in yellow are my milestones, and the other points are obviously other major milestones that have impacted our industry in major ways. So I came to Australia from the UK in 1971. Contrary to what people think, I wasn't born in India, and I must admit, when I go to meetings, they think of me as an oddity. The Australians think of me as an oddity because I think, Nick Singh? Oh, where's Nick Singh? We've got a meeting with Nick Singh, where is he? I said, I'm here. Let's get this meeting going. And then when I go in a room full of Indians, they go, where's this Nick Singh guy? I said, I'm here. Let's get this meeting going. It's very confusing for both sides. Another interesting bit of trivia is that all Sikhs that wear turbans are Singhs. But not all Singhs are Sikhs. Oh, there's a Singh there. How not all Singhs are Sikhs. No, I'm a Singh who's not a Sikh. So, in 1971, another bit of trivia, there was only one Indian restaurant in Melbourne. So things have changed quite a bit. And that Indian restaurant was a crappy restaurant. They used to recycle their food and their drink, and they were closed down in the 90s after being exposed on Current Affair. I started my IT career in Melbourne in 1981 and did my first performance test engagement, believe it or not, exactly 30 years ago in 1984 at ANZ Bank on an IBM mainframe. And my boss then was Jerry Tubman. Some of you will know him. He went on to start CMG Global, a very good mentor for me back then. I was a cheeky little 20-year-old, 21-year-old. Used to go straight to work for the nightclub and get stuck in a performance test engagement. But the very important aspect I'm across is that the way we performance tested back 30 years ago, the way we planned it, is exactly the same as the way we plan it today. And I've simplified the methodology and the process, and I've acronymed it as PBEAR. So I wonder if anyone hazard a guess what PBEAR stands for. I'll give you a hint. The first word is plan.
Analysis and reporting.
Yeah.
Execution.
Yes.
And build.
Right. Cool. Stuart gets a prize. Plan, build, execute, analyse, report. And then there's a post-PBEAR phase called verify and validate. And this PBEAR process fits into a waterfall process. You can have one cycle of PBEAR. You can have many iterations of PBEAR in an iterative manner, which fits into the iterative testing model, like the RUP, although they have more elaborate names for their phases. Inception, elaboration, construction, transition. It also falls into the agile process. You can have you can plan your sprints using PBEAR. In fact, PBEAR is a universal methodology for life. Now, I'm labouring on this point a bit because I will use that a little later in the presentation.
Can I just ask, is this talk over if we go for 20 minutes?
Oh yeah, this is just the introduction. Yeah, I guess if you look at that, we could talk on that slide for an hour, and it's a good point. That's why I've tried to just highlight some of the points, otherwise I will be here for hours. But PBEAR, I just want to labour on PBEAR for a minute. Right, so in the 80s and the early 90s, all the IT shops were in-house. Like I was at ANZ Banks for 8 years, and National Australia Bank for 7 years as a permanent. And the IT shops were in-house, and they used to run really well. We knew where to go to get help. We knew where the experts were, and it was a great model for success. And they were running mainframe. I know, us mainframe people are a little bit biased. Mainframes, in 1984 we had sub-second response times. Obviously now we've got multi-tiered environments, and it's almost near impossible to get one sub-second response times. But we did. And that's a very important point actually, which I forgot to talk about, is the only difference with what the test we planned in 1984 to the test we plan today is that we had to tune the hardware to run 100% because the hardware was so expensive. The good thing about that though is that we didn't have to justify performance testing. It was a must do, and must do very well as part of the software development lifecycle. So the processes back then were absolutely brilliant. But anyway, from it, the IT shops were in-house up to the mid-90s. But what happened then is that, especially at the banks got concerned because all the IT people were on senior manager packages. They had cheap loans, bonuses, And this was to keep them in sync with the market rates for IT resources. But bankers didn't like it. This is in the banking sector. But also in other industry sectors, they didn't like it either. So what they thought is, well, that was one reason. The other reason was they thought the IT shops were controlling the direction of their business. Because IT was an integral part of their business. And they thought, well, we don't have control of where our business is going. Because the IT people are directing where we're going. So what they did is they said, well, what we'll do is we'll outsource it to vendors, and then we can get back control of our business. So they did that in the mid-90s, and then what happened is that it became very, very expensive from the outsourced vendor model. So they went to the next step. Well, let's get them to reduce their labour costs by offshoring the labour. And that's when the push started to happen. In the early 2000s, I worked for GE Money, and the pressure then, this is where one of the bigger mistakes we made, was let's look at the most expensive tasks and offshore them. It's not whether they were complex or not. Let's look at the most expensive resources and offshore them. And I think most of you guys know what has happened, and I don't need to go through different sites and etc. where this has gone on. But what a mistake. In 2001 I was working to fight to keep performance testing onshore. And it was being driven from the corporate headquarters in America, for GE anyway, saying we need to get all our performance testing and automation offshore.
Stand under the speaker.
Yeah, we need to get it all offshore. So anyway, I was working then with Chris Felstead, who was the CIO of GE Money in Melbourne then, and we managed to keep it onshore. He said, look, I said to Chris, it's a complex task. We need to deal with the people. We need to interact with the people here. We need to whiteboard things. It's not an easy discipline to just offshore. So he backed it, and we managed to keep it onshore. And apparently, it's still onshore today, the automation as well. Chris Felstead is now a lecturer at Swinburne. And I reckon he'd be a real good one to come here and lecture on a few things. He's a very dynamic personality and got a lot of war stories under his belt. Anyway, in 2006 we got the advent of the cloud, and we had a mixture of economic disasters. The reason I mentioned the cloud there is because I think it's a very good thing for our industry, but it's also a bad thing, because there's a lot of mentality out there that you can just throw hardware at a performance problem. And I still hear it today, well, if you've got performance issues, we just put some more hardware in. It's simple. And now with the cloud, you can vertically and horizontally scale very quickly, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more of this idiotic talk. As you know, if you chuck hardware at a single threaded process, it's not going to make any difference whatsoever. So, sorry, that's the introduction. No, it's all right, I'll go very quickly now. I've got 7 times, so yeah, no, I will go quickly. That part of the presentation I think is quite important because of the history and why we've got to the point we are now. So the current market we're in, we're outsourced, offshore, agile, early testing, rapid delivery, cheaper, faster, better. I don't know about the better, but just definitely do things cheaper, do things faster. But the better is now starting to creep in because of the mistakes, the disasters that are happening out in the marketplace at the moment. We're getting outages all over the place, systems going down, crashing. It's great for us, I think. It gives us opportunity. And now companies are asking us to assist with improving the quality of what they do. So I think there's a real opportunity for us to work with the Felixes in the world to, combine our rates with theirs and deliver centre of excellences for what we do. The offshore issues, well, there's plenty of them. I've only listed a few up there. But I think the biggest one is the churn rate. There's a high churn rate for, pardon me, for the resources offshore. It's because they're climbing a career ladder. So as soon as they get good, they get promoted, they leave the company. So we're constantly dealing with new starters. And I think, I'm sure you guys who are working in the offshore model have experienced the same thing. And also, the upper management simplified view of what we do. You know, Dave Mitchell was here, I don't think he's here, but he calls it the dumbing down of performance testing. And that's why they did get offshore a while ago. So this is, yeah, what a crowd slide. Sorry. This is, I won't call it a bubble because every bubble bursts. So this is a circle, and it's the biggest circle I've got. It's the one I'm most passionate about, and it's innovation. And it's sort of the stuff Annie was talking about. I put it in the innovation category. But there's a huge gap in thought leadership in an offshore model. The companies we talk to, either it's the offshore vendor or it's the clients that are using an offshore model, are saying we don't get any initiative or strategy coming from offshore. And again, this is due to the lack and depth of experience and knowledge in the offshore resources. Yes?
Our experience is quite similar to yours, but I think it's a cultural thing too. I think that what gets missed along the way is that, let's just say, in India, for example, where most of the offshore work is happening, whether it's Capgemini, Accenture, or whether it's a company's own Indian office, it's a cultural issue too. Whereas here in Australia, it's like socialists, we also want to help each other, but also we are quite connected in that we have that thought leadership and have to discuss it right over there through illustration. So Paul Ryan over there, we found is I don't get that opportunity to provide that. When you give it to them, they freak out.
Yeah, I'm totally with that. There's definitely a cultural difference between the way we work and the way others do overseas. We find, you know, they're less likely to tell us there's a problem until the last minute. Before that, it's a politeness thing. We don't really want to tell you there's problems.
I mean, what opportunity for them to shine as such, but they can't jump that hurdle. So, going back to your previous slide, I reckon there's a gap there, and we're feeling it quite well. While that stuff now, while the high-end stuff's coming back.
Yes, and it's exactly right. I think the last year or two, there's stuff coming back to us, and it's opening up massive opportunities for us. I think, you know, I've always been against the offshore model. I think, well, they're taking our jobs away, you know, and they're crunching us down on rates. And how are we going to survive? You know, it's not cheap in Australia, as we know. But now I'm seeing that it's actually creating opportunity, and it's creating massive opportunity. And I think this is one of the areas where we can really excel. And it's not just for the technicians, it's for the management personnel as well. I think the management personnel have to be across all the tools in a conceptual manner. They should know what each tool possibly can do for the business in a conceptual manner. They don't have to understand the technical implementation of it. But we, as performance testing experts, definitely need to be across these tools. And as we know, there's more and more coming out. And what we find with the offshore teams is they won't be across all of these. And they won't know when to use a URL smashing tool like bees with machine guns or the grinder. Or they won't know when to use a servicing stuff like Node.js or service virtualization. And I think this is where we can add value as leaders in the industry. And there's definitely opportunity and jobs for that sort of work all over the place.
Nick, just on that, how does that go then for bringing young people up through the industry? some cases. What we're seeing is there's a lot more of the more senior people are getting more opportunity here because they have to manage the workloads and manage the skills that are coming in. So how do we bring the young people up into the industry?
Well, I see this as a total opportunity for them. I mean, really, we should be hiring graduates locally to help us keep the costs down, mentor them into our roles, and use them to help us get our jobs done. And these guys, they come out of uni and they're smart dudes. They pick up things like sponges, you know. You don't need to. And really, we should be using the grads rather than offshore. It's greater for our country, it's greater for business, and it's easy to have someone who's sitting right next to you and work together. Yeah. So I see it as I think there's a good opportunity for the graduates to come on board and work together with someone else.
That probably also makes a really good opportunity for the more experienced guys as well, because they will have more of a leadership role, more of an upskilling and some form of a mentoring type role, which in a lot of cases is going to be great for the industry here, because they can bring the people up with the skills that fit into the infrastructure nicely as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Sorry for the crowded slide there, but some of the major points from there, apart from and I only did a small one tool sets, because obviously a lot more. I thought I could go on for ages talking about these, but I think the best option for blending tool sets is a mixture of commercial tool sets and open source. I think there's a definite case for the commercial tool sets, and obviously there's a massive power behind open source. But we see now that some of the large commercial players are starting to enable their tool sets to allow for open source plugins. And I think that's really going to be powerful for what we can do.
Less rational.
I don't know if you're asking. Another area for innovation is optimising the licensing structures. Right, so we can drive down costs by having smarter licenses. You know, if we want to, we have to cut down our costs in some way. And I think with innovation, if we could innovate enough higher local grades, we could save enough money to bring back all the work to Australia. I strongly believe that. Constantly we have to ways to simplify, automate and innovate using scripting, Perl, Ruby, Python, and I won't go into all that, but I know you guys do all that sort of stuff. But you know, we have to, I labour on innovation because I think this is one of the bigger circles of opportunity. So either become a tool specialist or drive strategies for usage of tools. Also, I didn't touch on the APM tools that are coming out, like CO Wiley, New Relic, Splunk, Dynatrace, App Dynamics. There's going to be a massive market for that now that we've got 250 variations of mobile devices now. So performance is only going to become more and more relevant in what we do. I mean, here we are. We're in a great place at the moment to capitalise on opportunity. Architect and orchestrate. This is more for the management personnel. And it's to do with, okay, if we're going to use offshore resources, what do we send offshore? And we go back to the plan, build, execute, analyse, report model. What makes sense to do offshore? Well, I don't think the planning makes sense because it needs to be done onshore with stakeholders. You've got to work together to get your workload usage profiles set up, your application simulation models, your FGPs, your environment strategies, tool strategies, schedules, innovation, drive that all onshore. There was an interesting quote from Bill Gates, which someone shared with me, and he said, if you automate an inefficient process, you only highlight the inefficiency of that process. Right, so I think it goes the same for offshoring. If you offshore an inefficient process, you will only highlight the inefficiency of that process. It's a good quote. So, offshore, the simple things, or the well-defined, well-processed things, which I don't think there's too many of. But I think some building of scripts, if we go and get them to build the simulation scripts and give them enough information, they can possibly do that, do the execution, send back some of the analysis. The reporting, the root cause analysis would have to be done onshore. But I think there's a real, again, opportunity for people who want to technically coordinate the activities and maintain the offshoring so we can blend our rates and keep our jobs. There's a definite reach out for this as well. Governance and best practice. I mean, this could be done onshore as well. We can always do things better onshore, but especially when you're offshoring things, we need to implement, standardise, and make sure that we utilise things in a repeatable manner, and so we can focus on the important things of finding the problems, fixing them before they get out to production. Auditing and peer reviews, validate and verify. Have the right things been tested and has it been tested right? There's been so many times where I've reviewed script execution and we've had scripts come back executed at 100% success rate. No errors. And we've written a little SQL to run a query on the back end. Well, how many records got inserted in the update functions and in the create function? 0. Right, so how can you tick this off as 100% success rate? I see that over and over again, and that's just one little simple example. And as you know, you probably see a lot of performance testing not done correctly. Anyway, I think I won't go through all this stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory. Templating everything you do, naming conventions for transaction timers, execution checklists, pre and post, folder structures, version control, and nice, simple executive summaries going out. Even if they're one page, but we've got to give constant visibility to our upper management to make sure that they know that we're doing a good job. Oh, I finished. Almost. Well, what to do from here? I think opportunity does abound, as I've probably said over and over again, throughout these 3 little areas, which I think are key areas. I think we need to stay suitably skilled with the tool sets that are coming out, the new tools that are coming out. Either you become a SME in one of the tools, or devise strategies where they can be used effectively and cost effectively as well. Research the growth areas, stay in touch with the cloud-based tools, continue to learn and develop. I mean, I think everyone has to learn every day. I mean, you can even learn off people that you're training, I find. And if you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. So I think in this market, we need to be across all the new tool sets that are coming out. And the future, I see DevOps is bringing stuff back in-house. And there's more of an opportunity for performance testers to work in a DevOps type role. I think that's only going to get bigger and bigger. And one day, I believe it will all come back here anyway. But I'm not going to predict when. In America, some of the bigger companies are in-housing already. GM is a good example of that. To finish off with, have we got any other questions? Or any other thoughts that I'll share?
So, sorry, Nick,
you're going to see more of this blended model of onshore and offshore in performance system areas.
Yeah, I believe it because I missed a few points there. The ratio for sending the offshore-onshore mix, some of the sites it's got as high as 90 to 10, 10 onshore, 90% offshore, and they've been absolute disasters. Right. But we can get the rates right down. I mean, obviously with the 100% offshore becomes too expensive for the business, but if you just go 50-50 and even 60-40, 60 onshore, 40 offshore, we've already got the rates right down to a reasonable amount. So I think we're going to see this trend over the next year or two, where we're going to move more back onshore, and eventually it will come back. I think.
Then, can you elaborate on why you think DevOps will help bring work back in-house or onshore?
Well, more and more companies, they're in-housing their DevOps. So they're doing it in-house, onshore. And that's because the teams need to work, they need to collaborate together, and they work in an agile manner. And agile is very hard to do offshore. You know, with your stand-ups and your scrums and everything else. Most of the DevOps will be running an agile process, and part of the agile process is collaboration and communication. The best way to do that is everyone in the same, very close vicinity. People work together.
We have exactly the opposite example as Singapore. We have 80% of the agile team big DevOps in China, and probably less than 20% Brisbane.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah.
Is it working well?
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's always exceptions to the case.
More of a statement than a question. I've noticed that it works both ways. One of the things that I think the offshore